I'm like, okay, there's definitely demand for this. And I started looking into the companies, couldn't find any. So I just was like, holy smokes, I definitely kind of stumbled upon this industry. We're like, all right, let's do it. So the first month, I was like 17,000.
What's your average job size?
It's about 3,100. We've got around 70,000 on the schedule for each month up to October.
You'll do $1 million next year.
The new machinery got 0% financing for 60 months. Somebody's going to kill it with that little machine. You just have somebody who's operating joysticks from standing off to the side.
Had you ever used one before?
We've never used one.
Have you ever done a home service business before?
No.
So I was scrolling on Twitter the other day and I find this guy named Alex, and he started a brush clearing company in Cincinnati, Ohio. And his first month, he did almost $18,000 in revenue with 85% net profit margins. Why did he start this? Because he learned, holy crap, there is a ton of demand for brush clearing in my area, and almost no one is fulfilling this demand. Because he had just bought 5 acres and he needed brush clearing. So having never started a home service or a local business or a sweaty startup before, he said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to start a brush clearing business because I know there is so much demand for it and I can charge $2,000 a day. You can get the equipment financed. You can start this for very little money. And there's a ton of markets that have way more demand than supply. We got super tactical. We held nothing back. You are going to love this. Please share it with a friend, especially someone that might be interested in starting a local service business with very little money and very high margins. Tell me about how you even stumbled upon this industry.
So I bought a house and we have 5 acres. 4 of it was wooded. And I was like, okay, well, I have this nice yard, but I can't even use it. So how do I clear this? And I started looking into it and I couldn't find anybody. The closest person was over 100 miles away.
I don't want to dox you, but like what is the population or the size of your city? How far are you from a major metroplex that we might have heard of? Just to give us some bearing.
So I'm about 30 minutes from downtown Cincinnati.
Okay, in like a small rural city?
It used to be 10 years ago, it was a lot more rural. There's a lot more suburbs out here now. But so I'm kind of right on the edge of those suburbs. So there's like a 1,000-acre farm near me.
Mm-hmm.
And then, on the other side, you've got just tons and tons of subdivisions. So
Okay.
I'm kind of right on that edge.
It's funny because we're very similar. I live 30 minutes from downtown Dallas, and I'm like right near all the major Dallas suburbs, Plano, McKinney, and all that. But I'm in like this little rural pocket.
Yep.
Where
it's the best, isn't it? You still have property.
It's perfect. We have 3 acres.
Yeah.
Not a lot of it is wooded, but I've rented a skid steer about 4 times.
Yeah.
And I have no problem finding someone because there's 8 million people in Dallas and I'm close enough, right?
Right.
But you're in a much different situation from as far as like population is concerned.
Yeah. Texas is interesting. They're one of the few saturated mulching markets from what I've heard.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
So somebody out there must be really promoting it and doing really well with it, or a multitude of companies. One of the guys I've met is from Texas, and he just traveled up here because there was no competition.
Wow. Okay. So you bought 5 acres, 4 of which were wooded, and you need someone to come out and clear it, at least to some extent. You can't find anyone within 100 miles.
So then that got me thinking. I said, well, could I do this? and I started looking into it. I started looking around at my neighbors, and I'm like, everybody needs this. In Ohio, and I'm not necessarily sure in other states, but in Ohio in particular, especially our area, we have this plant called honeysuckle. I know it's pretty prevalent everywhere, but here in particular, it's really bad. And everybody has this problem. It's overgrowing on them constantly. What happens if you have any sort of property and you mow, it'll, over time, 5 years from now, you've lost 15 feet of your property because it just keeps creeping over and over and over. So I just saw that everywhere. And I'm like, okay, there's definitely demand for this. And I started looking into the companies, couldn't find any. I found some owner operators that were just promoting on Marketplace. They didn't really have like a brand or anything kind of established. And so I started doing keyword research, and I'm kind of learning, off of X that I'm kind of doing like this old school version of keyword research, probably because I did it a lot back in the early 2000s or mid 2000s. But I just sat down and I said, okay, people don't seem to know what forestry mulching is. If I type in forestry mulching, I'm hardly getting any sort of results. I talk to friends, talk to family. They're like, what is forestry mulching?
Mm-hmm.
So I just started asking them. I said, "Okay, let's say you wanted to clear your property. You've got this problem. It's been overgrowing. You've lost 20 feet. What are you gonna search to try and find this?" And so people were giving me ideas. Clear my woods, get rid of this wild rose, destroy honeysuckle, and I just started taking this list into a spreadsheet of all the different terms that people would search for. And then I used a keyword tool, typing in those and seeing how many results they're getting.
Which tool did you use?
I think it was SEMrush. It's been about
Yeah.
2 years since I did
And
it, but
unlike Ahrefs, they actually have a free trial. So,
yeah, that's yep. Yeah, I almost never pay for those tools.
little pro tip. No, never.
So I just noticed there's this huge search traffic. So I just was like, holy smokes, I definitely kind of stumbled upon this industry. Don't know anything about it. And just started looking into the equipment. And then my business partner, Zach, he was a part of this whole idea process as well. And I was just, all the time like, okay, let's see. This is what the search data is showing. I think we can do this. And then we just kind of were like, all right, let's do it. I know how to run ads. I know marketing. I think we can solve this problem that I'm seeing with other companies. And what I mean by that, so I actually reached out to some tree service companies, because if you're trying to get this done, you would think, okay, maybe I'll just contact a tree service company. And what I found was these guys don't know how to sell this service. And they also don't have the operators. So you can't take a tree service guy and stick them in these machines. So they've never really pursued this, even though they got asked about it a lot. How to sell it is through content marketing.
Mm.
And I was like, okay, I think that's the answer. That's how we sell this. And so we went and bought the machine, and we didn't have any jobs on the schedule. I kind of cobbled together an ad. I actually used like Bobcat's YouTube channel where they had a forestry mulching demo to kind of cobble together my first
You
ad.
borrowed their video?
I borrowed I was like, well, it's Bobcat. I'm using their equipment. They're probably
Yeah,
cool with
sure.
it, right?
Sure.
I was like, until I at least get my own videos. And yeah, so I mean, we got inundated pretty quickly.
Now, when you say content marketing, you mean like paid content marketing, not necessarily
Not
organic?
necessarily. So, like YouTube, I consider YouTube like content marketing. It can be used as content marketing. People have YouTube channels where they're trying to get tons of views. And I didn't approach YouTube that way. I don't care at all about the view count. I needed something that would support the business and support the service and support the marketing process. So I kind of see YouTube as a content marketing outlet in that
Yeah.
sense.
So are you, because to me, content marketing is not the first thing I think of when I think of a local service business, because, the YouTube algorithm will spread your video far and wide, not necessarily to people that live in Cincinnati or thereabouts. So how do you approach that?
So I actually use local keywords. So when you're putting in your tags, I use the local keywords. I'll do like Cincinnati forestry mulching as part of my tags on YouTube videos. And
Interesting.
the reason is because if somebody local is searching that on Google, and you know how it shows the video results kind of up there first, it's more likely to show my video to them. So because it's specifically for my area. So I kind of use AdWords keywords in a sense onto my YouTube tags.
So here's how this works. I make you free videos. I actually know what I'm talking about. I have no greasy sales pitch at the end. And if you implement what I talk about, you'll make a lot more money and have a better life.